Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Gartner, editor at Northeast Ohio Parent Magazine. I'm here with most of this year's Maltz Museum Stop the Hate 6th through 10th grade essay finalists. The Stop the Hate program annually awards $100,000 in scholarships and prizes to 6th through 12th grade students, schools, and teachers speaking out against bias and discrimination. The winners will be announced at the virtual event on Wednesday, April 19th at 7 p.m. For the 6th through 10th grade group, who are here right now, they competed against kids in their own grades. A total of 1,034 students from the 6 to 10 grade group wrote essays this year to speak out against hate, bias, and discrimination. The Maltz Museum will award a first place winner and a runner-up in each grade. First place winners will receive a $400 cash prize, and the runner-ups will receive a $100 cash prize. All the finalists will receive a free one-year membership to the Maltz Museum. So today, we wanted to take some time to speak with these wonderful finalists in this group, the 6 to 10 group, and why they really took the opportunity to participate in the Stop the Hate program. Welcome, guys. I'm so excited for you guys to be here. So let's meet them right now. First, we're going to start by each finalist introducing themselves. So I'm going to start with Katie.
Hi, my name is Katie Smith. I'm a 9th grader at Finalists High School.
Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia Piazza. I'm a 7th grader at Learwood Middle School, Avon Lake.
Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace Clausen. I'm in 6th grade at Hudson Middle School.
Kyle.
I'm Kyle Carroll, and I'm a 10th grader at Hudson High School.
And Anaya.
Hello, I'm Anaya. I'm an 8th grader at Beechwood Middle School.
Welcome. Isabella.
Hi, I'm Isabella. I'm a freshman at Hawken.
Okay. Stella.
Hi, my name is Stella Cypus, and I'm in 6th grade at Hudson Middle School.
Rakia.
Hi, my name is Ritika, and I'm a 8th grader in Beechwood Middle School.
And Ezra.
Hi, my name is Ezra Ellenbogen, and I'm a 10th grader at Shaker Heights High School.
Okay, well, welcome, everyone. The first thing that we want to do is, by the show of hands for the group, is this your first time writing an essay and entering into this contest? Okay, so we have some people who have entered before and some people who have not. So let's talk about their essays. Each of their essays have a different theme, from bullying, racism, discrimination, bias, hate towards others, whether at home or around the world. They all did a wonderful job of capturing these different issues. So we're going to talk to each one of them about their essay. So let's get started with Katie. Katie, tell us a little bit more about your essay.
My essay was about hate towards other people and bullying. I wrote my essay about a time in 8th grade when a girl took a picture of me and posted it on the internet, and it had some mean captions on it, and it just did not sit well with me, and she kept saying these things about me to other people.
And tell us a little bit more, like, why did you think that you wanted to write about this?
I wanted to write about this because I know it was happening to other people, and I know that there are some people that have been in the same kind of situation as me, and I just want other people to know that they aren't alone and that they can reach out for help, and that they're just like, the problems are validated.
Well, I mean, you did a wonderful job on your essay, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. I'm going to move on to, thank you, Katie. I'm going to move on to Grace. Grace, tell us a little bit about your essay.
My essay was about masking during the COVID pandemic and how people with masks and people who didn't wear masks treated each other.
And why did you choose to write about it?
Because a lot of people think that it's not really happening anymore, but like it is, and it's like still happening to a lot of people, and they aren't alone, and it's still happening.
Okay. And all of your essays were wonderful. So we're gonna Olivia, tell us a little bit about your essay.
My essay is about an experience I had at school. It reminded me that I'm a minority and racism happens more than we think. And I chose to write about it because it's like not okay for people to like joke about racist beliefs, and people like brush it off like it's okay. And yeah.
Well, exactly. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that, but yeah. Kyle, what about you?
My essay was about the war in Ukraine and how the leader of the Orthodox Church in Russia has become corrupted and has been saying that the war is like a holy war and supporting it. And I wanted to write about it because my family goes to an Orthodox church, and that leader in Russia he got corrupted, and what he was saying is not what the Orthodox Church teaches.
Yeah, I'm definitely. What about you, Anaya?
So my essay is about my brother and how he's always treated really cruelly by my neighbor for being on the spectrum. He usually ends up like playing around near his house, and it gets really bad. He starts calling him names, and he's just 8 years old, and I feel like it's really not okay. You should be judging kids and being really mean to them because they're on the spectrum. I mean, they can't control this. So I wanted to write my essay about this because I really want to strive for a change and enlighten people on this topic.
We're going to talk about what you guys have changed since you guys wrote this essay. Stella.
I wrote about a bully who was treating other people really unfairly, and I stayed her friend. So I wouldn't be bullied by her too. And when I said something, she started bullying me really badly and would hog all the playground equipment and stuff like that.
Isabella, what about you?
I wrote about an experience my grandmother had that ended up impacting her and I suppose me as well.
And for your grandmother, I think I remember that one. You talked about something that happened in the past with someone that your great grandfather worked with. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Just to give like a little brief overview, my grandmother, my great grandfather, he owned a paint store and he employed an African American man. Keep in mind, this was like, I would say maybe like the 50s or like at most the early 60s, most likely the 50s. So there was still a lot of segregation going on. And just to give like a quick little thing, he went over to my grandmother's house for lunch, which is absolutely normal. And my great grandmother threw out like the utensils and like he used to eat. Yeah, that was pretty impactful in my grandmother's life.
And we're gonna, talk again about like some of the impact that each of you, in writing this essay. Ezra, tell us a little bit about your essay.
So my essay was based on an experience I had where I felt like the coverage of the Holocaust in my history class was very shallow and not adequate enough for covering such an extreme and impactful event. And it felt very consequential, not only because of the scope of event, because of the scope of the event, but it also felt very personal to me because my great grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. And so it felt like a great injustice was being done by not giving greater attention to it in the curriculum.
Yeah, and you actually brought it to your curriculum director, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, and it's something with all of your essays, you don't really you guys have such powerful essays, and for our last one, it's like your essay, you talked about the lunchtime. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what your essay was a little bit about?
So when I first came to the US, I think this was the summer of 2017. My mannerisms and like the food that I brought to school, I was still like very much acclimatizing to the culture of like America. So I guess like my Indianness and the food that I brought to school was a very different realm for other people to grasp. And so it was like very easy for them to make fun of how I acted and the food that I brought. And I felt at the time that I should have I just sucked up to it and I just like moved on, I guess. But I realized now that I probably should have taken more action. And so that was my way of expressing my feelings, was by writing the essay.
What grade were you in when you experienced that?
I was in 3rd grade, so this was right when I moved back to the US for the second time.
And since you went last this last time, I'm going to have you go first. So tell us about your experience in writing it and how you felt during that time. And was there anyone who kind of led you to do this? Was there a moment like, hey, there was a reason why you thought this particular moment was important to share?
When I was first thinking of what I could write for the essay, I was like not sure. I'd almost not written an essay entirely. But then I realized that even though like what happened to me at lunchtime might seem trivial to others, for me especially, like since I came to the US for the first time in a long time, it felt like it impacted me a lot in the way that I behaved ever since then, because I like became Americanized. I kind of forced myself to repress my culture in order to fit in with everyone else. I decided to write about the essay myself, just because it was kind of a way for me to like think back and correct how I acted before, because as opposed to just simply deciding to give in and appease to what they wanted me to do, I decided that I should take action myself and not force myself to repress my culture.
Yeah, I mean, it was very powerful, and I just love, when you say, in a place where we're all in our own box in terms of culture. So, very, very powerful things that you wrote. So, I'm going to go to Ezra. Tell me about your experience in, writing the essay, and why did you pick this moment? You talked a little bit about it, but why was this so important to share?
So after the moment occurred, I kind of used it as a starting point, as a motivation to do a lot of research about the subject and to really see if this was a one-off thing or if it's a nationally occurring thing. And it turns out it's very much across the United States right now. there is a tendency for schools to undermine the importance, seriousness, and extent of the Holocaust, so much so that it seems to be, I mean, completely, for how much education on the Holocaust is worthwhile to the development of moral, understanding, and tolerant children, it seems terrible that it is so underdeveloped in curriculum across the US. And so Miss Gray at Shaker Heights High School, who leads the writing center, recommended that I write into this because the theme was similar. And so writing this kind of helped me explore a more personal, I guess, connection and account with why I felt like this was so important, not only to me, but why it seems like it's an important thing for everyone in the US currently to recognize.
Yeah, definitely. And I obviously it was your inspiration was your brother, but tell us a little bit about your experience about writing the essay and what why again you think it was really important to share for you personally.
So I was trying to decide what I would write for this essay, and then I just looked at my brother outside on his electronic red car, and he was again at my neighbor's, and he keeps on coming out over and over again, screaming at him about you shouldn't be here. Why are you so why are you being so annoying? And then I've always had a sense of disappointment in me, but the time I saw it again, I thought about this essay, and I'm like, I feel like I really need to take an initiative to change something about the situation, as it can really lower my brother's self-confidence. And I did not want any of that to happen to him. So I essentially used the essay as a way to pour out on my disappointment and anger, essentially also into writing. And yeah, that's essentially how yeah.
Well, Grace, tell me about your experience. You were actually in a mask. It wasn't a mask optional class, but you were actually in a class that it was required. So, when did you start the process of writing this essay, and why this moment? Why do you think that had impacted you?
So last year I was in a masked required class, and this year I had definitely heard some people just saying that COVID is over and that they don't care at all. And I no longer wear a mask, but I have a lot of friends who still do, and they strongly believe that COVID isn't over, and they're not wrong, and no one is really wrong in this. And because hate was still going on with that, I wanted people to know that not everyone thinks that COVID is over. And even though that is an opinion that a lot of people have, and that's okay if they do think COVID is over, then some people don't think it's over. And that shouldn't be discounted. And we should respect people who don't think COVID is over. And we should also respect people who think COVID is over. No matter what their opinion is, we should respect them and treat them equally. But a lot of people were saying to me that COVID was over, and I kind of just let it go, and I didn't really care. But a lot of my other friends really did care, because they were still wearing masks in most of the things they did in daily life. And so if they didn't think that COVID was over. And if other people said that to them, if they believed something different than them, people shouldn't treat them unfairly, or people shouldn't force them to take their mask off just because that's what they believe.
I mean, did you notice this when the masking was happening? Did you notice this kind of tension, because it is something where that this division in this, like you said, this little cloth in your essay. You said this little cloth is, doing all this division. So did you notice this before, or like the masking really kind of expanded like your kind of what you saw?
Yeah, I definitely expanded like what I saw, and people were, both people who masked and people who didn't mask were saying that other people were wrong, but no one was really wrong in this because it was really only an opinion, and it doesn't matter what you think, because you should do what you believe, and you shouldn't be treated unfairly or oppressed so that you don't do what you believe.
And thank you. Kyle, tell me, so you said about your church, so maybe is that what's led you to kind of writing the essay? And tell me a little bit about kind of your experience. Did you raise your hand? This is your first experience writing an essay?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about the process as a first timer. Because I know some others have gone through it, but a first time actually thinking about this moment and writing your essay.
So why I chose this topic?
Well, just tell me about your experience writing it. Why do you think it was important to share personally?
Well, so the whole war in Ukraine is very sad because so many people are being killed. And it's very disturbing that the Russian Orthodox Patriarch is calling this a holy war, because the Orthodox Church condemns war. And if this patriarch had spoken out against the war, then the people in Russia probably would have believed him. And it's even more sad because a lot of churches in Ukraine are under this patriarch. So he's basically supporting killing his own parishioners.
And I mean, what was your experience though? Like, do you think it was difficult to write this essay like this?
Well, I thought it was very sad what's going on in Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, so no, I mean, it's definitely an important topic. It's, I was impressed with, some of your topics that, had that kind of worldly, going on in the world. Isabella, did you talk to your your mom or your grandmother? Is it your mom or is it your grandmother on your mother or father's side? It's your father's side, right? I'm sorry.
It's my mother's side.
Oh, it's your mother's side. Okay. Sorry about that. So your mother's side. So did you talk to any of the family about, when you were writing this essay and that you were going to be sharing it?
Surprisingly, no. This may seem a little silly, but I kind of did it to give, not to give, but kind of to like, so I'm trying to find the word. I don't know, I just did it to like try to represent my grandmother's like perspective, especially, I don't really know how to say this, but I think that small events that seem insignificant can be very like meaningful. And I feel like this event that she witnessed, even though it may not be very like important to some, I feel like just trying to get her idea out there was trying to like, I don't know, pay like homage to her, if that makes sense. So I didn't tell her, I kind of just did it to like surprise her.
Yeah, what did they think when they found out? So they know you're a finalist then? So
Yeah,
so what did they think when they found out and read your essay?
She was very surprised and very happy. I would say very proud.
Well, good. I mean, it's definitely and we're going to talk a little bit more about it as well. Katie, so tell me about your experience and writing this essay, and what led you to kind of take this moment when you were in 8th grade to do this.
So I wrote my essay because I felt that other people like needed to know that they weren't alone in some circumstances. I wanted to write this essay because it had a lot of meaning to me, and I took this opportunity to submit it because my English teacher this year, she told me that I was a really good writer, and I never really thought that I was a good writer before. So her telling me that actually meant a lot to me. So I decided to submit it.
And Stella, now you talk about being having a friend about bullying. Can you tell me a little bit about that, and why you thought this moment was what you wanted to share?
Why I thought this moment was important to share is because a lot of people are nervous to like speak up for themselves. And I just wanted people to know that it's okay, and you don't have to be embarrassed and think that you're a tattletale if you're telling a parent or a teacher if someone's being a bully.
And Olivia, you also wrote about bullying too. So you wrote about a couple experiences. Can you share, what your experience was, kind of going through these experiences in your mind as you wrote them?
Wait, can you repeat that question?
Yeah. So you wrote also about bullying.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you went through, and going ahead and
Yeah.
going through these experiences again as you wrote them?
When I wrote them, it took me a long time to actually think of something because I wanted it to be like deep and like something that was really important to me. So during that time, I overheard like things, and it made me really uncomfortable. And when these kids were making fun of different minority groups that was like associated to my culture, it made me feel really uncomfortable when the teacher never even addressed it, and it made me feel like weak in a joke because I couldn't even stand up for myself because people were like not taking it seriously.
Well, and I mean, this is the next question for everyone, but we'll start with you. Is how, after writing this essay, what difference are you making in the community, whether you're at home or in school? And what advice would you give students your age and beyond, adults, in ways they can really help stop the hate in their communities?
A way like to stop the hate is that so my mom told me this. It's she tells it to her students. She's a teacher. She said that if someone cannot change their appearance or like something about themselves in 30 seconds, then you shouldn't make a comment about that because that's something they cannot change. And I think it's really good advice. Like you should just keep quiet because you shouldn't judge somebody based like on who they are as a person because they can't change it. There's like no point about doing that.
What about you, Katie? Tell us about a little, since writing this essay and even before that, how you're making a difference in your community. And I mean, what advice would you give, students your age and beyond to, help stop the hate in the communities?
Something that I've done to like stop the hate is helping other people stand up for themselves and trying to not be as judgmental like other people. Since I wrote this essay, I think that I've learned to stand up for myself more and to not like not be, I don't know how to word this. Yeah, to just like be able to stand up for myself more.
Well, and that's a first step, because you have to, think about yourself as well as others, and making sure that you're being safe and being that role model as well. So no, that's great. What about you, Grace?
So like after I wrote it, I like really started noticing more like when people were like doing like hurtful things or like disrespecting people who were wearing masks or anything even like remotely similar to that. Um like I just really started noticing it more because it kind of like opened my eyes like after I wrote it to like people who just I guess like are really judgmental and like think that like everybody kind of thinks that like their perspective is better, but that's like why like empathy is so important, because we need to realize that like people have different views and different beliefs so like than us, so we need to respect them in that and let them believe what they want to believe, even if you don't believe in the same thing.
No, that's great. What about you, Kyle? Like, what advice would you give others, and like how are you feel like you're making a difference after kind of writing this essay?
Well, advice I would give is like to just try to show kindness to everyone and try to be a decent person, and learn about what other people are going through.
Yeah, totally. That understanding of others is very important. Anaya, what about you?
So whenever I see these kind of things, similar situations to my case happening anywhere else, I've kind of made it my mission to teach these people more about kids on the spectrum and how they honestly just can't control they can't control their behaviors. And I mean, it really lowers self-confidence, self-esteem, and it can really be detrimental to especially a kid with autism, their the way they feel about themselves. So yeah, essentially I hope to inspire people to pass it on and really help me stop the hate and do something about this issue.
But Kia, what about you?
These days I've just been trying to be less judgmental. I feel like after writing the essay, it would be kind of hypocritical for me to not do what I wish other people to do. So in general, I try not to be as judgmental. And I'm also trying to realize like the way, like why people do what they do, there's always a reason, even if it seems like silly or dumb. For why people do what they do, like there's always a reason, and there's like more to the story, I guess. So I've learned to just like keep an open mind. Like not everything that I do is going to be the way someone else does it. So that's kind of been my thought process.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, do you feel like since you wrote this essay, do you feel like you're taking upon yourself to do other things that you maybe wouldn't have done if you wrote this, to kind of make that difference in the community, even in your own community?
I feel like I put my culture on display more. I try not to hide it. If it ever comes up, I embrace it rather than trying to be like everyone else in a sense.
Good. Stella, how about you? What advice would you give others, and what ways do you think that you're making a difference since kind of writing this essay? Like, how has it impacted you?
So how it impacted me is that Uh, I'm not afraid to stand up for anybody anymore. And even if you like don't know them and don't talk to them, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings like any other person.
Yeah, totally. That's great. Isabella, what about you?
I think some advice I would give someone is to just be the change and try to understand where people are coming from. Because intention is a large part of what we do. I mean, background and such. I feel like just being kind and remembering that people have feelings is definitely important.
No, I mean exactly. Ezra, you actually took it a little step further, and I want to hear more about that. Is there any updates since you actually wrote the essay?
So the main thing I wanted to do is kind of bring it to his attention. And I was able to bring it to his attention, and we exchanged a few emails and ideas. And that was the way that I tried to, on my own, stop the hate, as this kind of, that's what I thought would be a meaningful way to directly try and deal with the issue, at least as it pertained to the local level. As for updates, since I'm not in the know in terms of curriculum updates, since I'm not a teacher, I can't say for sure, but he said that he took it into consideration and brought it up at a meeting. So optimistic in terms of how the class is being taught this year.
Well, and tell us about advice for people who are, to me, I feel that, the Holocaust is always been a topic that has kind of been in my mind. And, and I was actually, when I read your essay, I was kind of surprised because I'm like, how could this just, you feel that this been brushed over? And I'm like, I was actually surprised, not in a good way. So what can adults and students do to kind of really take an effort to really learn about it even on their own?
So yeah, it is totally surprising how much people don't know about the Holocaust. There are surveys after surveys where we find especially younger people tend to be missing at least one critical point of information, even if it's just something as basic as up to like 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust. A lot of people are unable to recall that fact or mark it as simply false. But in terms of what we can do now, I think the most important avenue for kind of reforming this is through public education. And so I think a great way to get educated, all of the museums have, including the Maltz Museum, have amazing exhibits on the Holocaust. And there's a Holocaust museum in DC. And these are great places because they directly deal with primary sources. They deal with pedagogical issues too. So that's why schools will go on tours there, because they're meant to teach you, and they do it in a serious and reflective way. And they're still able to mark off certain areas as maybe not appropriate for younger children. So I have to say, I think there's a lot we can learn from, especially what museums are doing to present the Holocaust. Yeah.
I mean, and my other question for you is, the other one is, I mean, in general, hate in general, what advice would you give others, like students and even adults who are listening, about really, helping to stop that hate in the communities as a whole?
Calling it out when you see it. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to let small instances slide or say, oh, I misheard that, or oh, that doesn't matter as much. But a lot of times it's really easy to just say, hey, you're wrong. You're saying something that is based on prejudice, and you need to reevaluate how you feel about that, because that can't be something that you take with you into your life. And I think also being able to accept that for yourself, being able to be open and being able to revise your beliefs based on what you learn about the world. So I think more openness with beliefs and criticism and honest exchange of ideas is important. And I think a lot of hate not all of the hate in the world, but a lot of hate results from unintentional misinformation or malinformation, especially with how widespread that's become. And so taking a second, stepping back and saying, this person might just be misinformed. Obviously, a lot of the time, that's not it. But sometimes it can just be something as simple as they didn't know. And so that's why I think public education is so important, because it really cements these important ideas, especially about the Holocaust and about tolerance in people's heads at a young age, so that they don't grow up with these gaps in their knowledge that might translate to hurtful behavior.
And I mean, for everyone listening to this broadcast, you know, we have some pretty impressive students here, and it's pretty I feel them being finalists is a no-brainer. But the last question that I'm going to ask, I'm going to start with Ezra, because I made him go last the last time. So we kind of go around. Oh. And so talk to us about your future plans and when you graduate from school, and, you know, kind of tell us about the future goals and how maybe writing this has kind of helped you for that future.
So one future goal I've kind of always had in mind is being a teacher or a professor or something of that sort, which I guess fits in with the topic that I chose. I think just because education is important to me, and engagement not only with learning, but also being able to disseminate information, just the formative influence that education can have, and the amount of positive influence that a really good teacher can have, not only on your knowledge, but also your capabilities, your self-esteem, and your life in general. I think teachers are an incredibly important part of society and many people's lives. And as for how writing this has kind of reshaped how I think about education and how my own career in education might go, I think a lot of it is, well, there is a lot that's interesting, especially with just how limited the curriculum that's already been provided can be. It can be really just a set of guidelines. And so I guess what it causes me to reflect on is what I would consider for if I had to teach a controversial issue, because a lot of the scholarship on teaching the Holocaust is about why it's so difficult, and why it's hard to talk about in general, because it's hard to talk about something that such a tragic and consequential event. And it's especially hard to talk about it when you have something like a time restraint, like you might have in a class. And so looking through different pedagogical approaches to teaching the Holocaust and teaching controversial issues, I think is going to be important for my future career.
Thank you. Isabella, what about you? So, you know, and I mean, I understand that some of you don't have, and it's okay, but like, what is, you know, I know a lot of you do have future goals and things. So tell us a little bit about your future goals after graduating from school, and, you know, how do you think writing this has helped you?
I think flat out just writing this essay has helped me with my communication and being able to like put my thoughts down on paper, which I think is a very necessary skill in the real world. As for after school, two of my main interests that I am very passionate about is architecture as well as history. So honestly, I could either be an architect or an engineer because that's something I enjoy, which also uses communication, or I could be an archaeologist. And I think I wrote this because I wanted to give a perspective into history. And I think history's always been very important to me, and seeing the sides of stories and hearing people's voices and just getting small messages out there, because oftentimes small messages are very important. So yeah.
No, that's great. Stella, what about you?
So I think I would like to help people I would like to help people give them like confidence to speak up for themselves, and to inform them that it's okay to say like your beliefs, if they're like appropriate and not like hurting people, but mostly to and give people confidence and stuff like that.
Good. Ratika, what about you?
In terms of how Stop the Hate's prepared me for like the outside world, I feel like I've learned that the world isn't always like, it isn't gonna be, everyone isn't gonna be nice to you. Everyone isn't gonna like treat you with respect. So I guess it's made me stronger in that way, like becoming more self-aware of the kind of place that the world really is. I have no plans for like my future. As of right now, I'm in 8th grade, so I have no idea what I'm going to be doing after I graduate, but I would like to travel the world sometime in my future, but that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, traveling the world would be nice. I need to get out of my own little world here of Northeast Ohio, but for sure. What about you, Anaya? What are your thoughts about your future and how this has helped you?
Yes, for a really long time, I've wanted to be like a kind of like a computer science coding engineer, possibly like a UI software designer. And I feel like I could definitely use my skills to like create websites or web pages for starting camps or organizations to raise awareness on this topic. And I feel like I can also possibly use social media to make an impact because yeah, I feel like that will probably be what I'll probably do in my future to just make an effect on this issue as a whole.
Yeah, it definitely is needed for sure. What about you, Kyle? What are your thoughts about your future and how this has has this shaped any of it that your thoughts about the future?
Well, I think I'm going to go to college in Ohio, and I might study something related to math or science. I'm not really sure yet, but I think this gave me some experience speaking out and like sharing my thoughts with other people, and it gave me some experience writing and doing some research for the essay.
Yeah, no, this is your first time doing it, so you can definitely do it more, right? So, what about you, Olivia? What, any future goals and what are your thoughts about how this has impacted, what you thought about the future?
When I graduate from school, I want to study to become a doctor and open up my own art studio. My experiences when writing this essay will help me treat my patients with respect and integrity, no matter who they are.
No, definitely. A doctor. Do you know what kind of doctor yet? Or
I'm not sure yet, but like when I like get older, I think I'm gonna like look into it more.
Yeah, no, you got plenty of opportunities and we're gonna need doctors. I'm gonna need doctors, so Grace, what about you?
I definitely want to do something with like microbiology or biochemistry. And like during COVID, I just feel like that those careers especially were really important and like really educated people about COVID, and I feel like they really helped people respect um, like everyone who wore a mask or everyone who didn't wear a mask more, and just made people feel like more comfortable and safe with with whatever like they were doing. Um, and Stop the Haze definitely like made me want to like work more writing into whatever I do, because I just feel like writing and educating people about like those topics is like becoming really important.
Yeah, that's great. And Katie, you are the last one to answer. So tell us a little bit about your goals and how maybe writing this has maybe impacted you and your future.
So I think something that I want to do in the future is I want to be a teacher. So I think writing this essay has definitely given me some communication skills and just overall like given me a good outlook on how people can treat each other. So like I could like if I am a teacher, I could like recognize bullying and say something about it instead of letting another child suffer.
No, and I just want to thank, all of you, all the finalists, and for joining us, and good luck to all of you. Everyone is so proud of you, and it's inspiring to see young people like you being that voice that helps stand up against hate. I really do look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future. And I want to thank everyone else who was enjoying the broadcast for joining us, and the Maltz Museum. Again, the Maltz Museum's 15th annual Stop the Hate Award ceremony will be held free and online on Wednesday, April 19th at 7 p.m. You can visit themaltzmuseum.org to register, and also visit northeastohioparent.com for more information on the winners after the ceremony. Thank you all.